He cut his teeth again early on, and he come up the hard way in Scottish variety. His humour wasn't all that popular down south. I think it's because of the way that he did localise it. And some of the entertainers who came from Scotland made it down south, others didn't. And I may be wrong, but by all accounts Charlie Kemble was more popular in Scotland and Ireland and North Wales and the north of England.
Charlie going down south at all.
He holds the record of 43 continuous weeks at the Opera House in Dunfermline.
That doesn't surprise me.
Now that takes a lot of doing.
You could feel the love going up to the man, you know, and the whole of the audience, the cast.
He also played the Alhambra, the Olympia, the St Margaret's Hall, and also in the original Penny concerts down at Bruce Street. That's where it started. So that was a great Charlie Kemble.
Yes, wonderful.
You mentioned Clarty earlier on, which can only mean one thing, and that's Tommy Morgan. And here we see an advert from the Dunfermline Press from 1935. Now again, Tommy Morgan was very popular in Dunfermline, Frida, and it could be that his workman type basic humour appealed to the working people, the working class of the Dunfermline area, you know, with the big gruff voice and Clarty. But again, a comic who come up the hard way through the Glasgow shipyards and was a big hit all over Scotland, especially Glasgow at the Pavilion, where he holds a record for appearances through there. But Tommy Morgan, and we see a photograph there as well, Frida, of other great Scottish comics. From left to right, it's Jimmy Neal, Denny Willis, who of course was Dave Willis' son and a great entertainer in his own right, Tommy Morgan and Dave Willis. Tommy Morgan, did it give you any memories, Tommy Morgan?
Very much so, very much so. What lucky we were to see all these wonderful acts in the Opera House.
Sure. Another big act, and very popular again throughout Scotland, was the Laird of Inversnecky himself, the late great Harry Gordon, who was so much associated with the Beach Ballroom in Aberdeen, which he owned, and also theatres throughout Glasgow. His pantomimes with Will Fife and of course Alec Finlay were the highlight of a lot of people's entertainment year. But again that we see him here, now this one is from 1938 and Radio Inversnecky, and he was very popular. He made his Dunfermline debut again at the St Margaret's Hall when he was with the Collins Entertainers. But of course he was a big star, Frida, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
Harry Gordon.
Yes, absolutely.
The photograph shows him in the Beach Pavilion with the John Tiller Girls, which we highlighted earlier on, with the Will Fife show. They obviously toured with the big shows, the big variety shows in Scotland. But the late great Harry Gordon, never to be forgotten. Now everybody's got to start somewhere, and here we have from 1915 the Fred Collins Bohemian Entertainers. Now Fred Collins himself was a great entertainer on the comic side of things, and in his biography written by his daughter or his granddaughter, it said that he wrote a lot of songs as well. I don't know about that, but he certainly was instrumental in putting some together, some great shows. And he actually started down at the beach. He actually started down entertaining all the people that were on holiday on the beaches and progressed to bigger theatre. And here we see 1915 with Sam Thompson as top comedian, but also in the show was Harry Gordon and Jack Holden, who of course was, Jack Holden was Harry Gordon's feed. But it's a smashing photograph, and it's interesting to see that the photograph itself comes from Fred Collins Beach Pavilion Entertainers, Bunt Island, 1915.
Oh, yeah.
Now, bearing in mind that the advert for the Opera House, his visit to the Opera House, was in 1915, that is basically, that photograph is basically the same touring group that actually appeared at the Opera House in Dunfermline. So it was a bit of a coincidence, but of course Fred Collins and his son Horace Collins went on to be one of the biggest theatrical agents in the whole of Britain. And they took on, I mean, when the likes of Will Fife and Harry Lauder, Harry Gordon, when they put on a show, it wasn't them themselves who funded it, it was the Collins Agency. So it's nice to know that we've highlighted it in the exhibition from the early beginnings, when they toured as Fred Collins Bohemian Entertainers. Okay, Frida, local input, which has been very encouraging with yourself. And here we see Sally and Andy Hamilton at an early age taking part in one of the programmes from 1944. Now, the last 10 years or so of the Opera House, they incorporated quite a lot of local acts. And Andy and Sally were a couple of Highland dancers, and they came and entertained the Dunfermline public. And the photograph shows Sally to the left and Andy to the right, and at the bottom, Andy Hamilton later on receiving his MBE at Buckingham Palace. Sally is on his left, and Tracy is his niece, so they were down there. But local input was very encouraging, and it was nice that the Dunfermline Opera House incorporated a lot of local acts into the shows. Yeah, we've highlighted in the exhibition quite a lot of the people and entertainers who come and played and entertained people in the Dunfermline area. But I'd like to highlight a couple of people who, through the years, I have found great admiration for. The first one to the left is Mr. W.E. Potts. Now, he was the manager when it opened in 1903. And in 1904, the theatre closed. It had financial problems, and by all account, it just didn't have the facilities for the top touring companies. But Mr. Potts actually bought the theatre over, reopened it, and if you notice, it's now called the Dunfermline Theatre Royal and Opera House. Now, he owned the theatre right up to 1911, where he decided that skating, roller skating, was more popular than theatre, and he bought himself a roller skating rink right opposite the Opera House in Reform Street, and the Opera House was put up for sale. And then on the right is a photograph of the staff and the owner who would take it over and reopen it in January 1913. My personal favourite person ever to be connected with the Opera House in Dunfermline, John Henry Hare. Now, John Henry Hare, Frida, is pictured in the front row middle, and he was, by all accounts, an entrepreneur. He had his finger fairly on the pulse of entertainment throughout Britain and the world, and obviously rubbed shoulders through his connection with the theatre with some of the biggest names in music hall and variety. He was born in Dublin and actually appeared as an actor in the original Charlie's Aunt when it made its debut in the late 1890s in London's West End. He went on to have his own theatre company, and in fact, they actually appeared in Dunfermline, John Hare's own company, and with his favourite play called The Girl from Nowhere, which he owned the copyrights for. But he managed and owned, as I said earlier, 3 theatres in Dunfermline, but the Opera House was obviously the jewel in the crown. He opened it in 1913, and it stayed open until a tragic accident in 1932 when he died under the wheels of a passenger train. Very sad, but as long as I'm connected with local entertainment history, his legend and his name will live on. John Henry Hare, owner of the Opera House.